obviously a really difficult time for all of us in the live events brand industry. And I'm hearing a lot these last few days about the fact that crisis drives innovation. Out of failure and struggle, some of the brightest ideas are forged. But when you're in the business of creativity like we are, I wanted to ask you, how do you really harness the creativity of your team in times like this where there is a cloud of anxiety and stress lingering over us all?
Yeah. I think, like you said, there is uncertainty. I think from all of us, not just, and also our family as well. So I feel communication is really crucial during this time to foster creativity. And luckily, we now have the technologies, for example, Zoom, Skype, and Teams, to help us to bring people together. We now have virtual brainstorming, and in another way, when we work separately from different places from home, it also brings a personality into our work. You can't avoid it, right? And we have people bringing their dogs and cats to the brainstormings, and we even have kids joining brainstorming as well. So all of a sudden it becomes really colorful. It's not just the same usual setting where you have a cup of coffee and with your colleagues in the office. Now you're in a totally different setting, and you just have to think creatively how to make it more comfortable for you, and what makes it works and for creativity, I think.
It's great to hear that at Jack Morton you've been able to kind of capture the personal lives of your team. The fact that they're bringing their loved ones and then their pets into meetings. You get to see that that other side of people. When the professional mask almost comes off, and that's been able to, spur on the creativity, which is great to hear. How are brands doing this? And perhaps if you could share some examples from some of your clients, if possible.
So obviously brands are really looking into different ways that they can share their experience, share their content, and being creative with the technologies. So for example, we are working with brands basically to bring their physical experience online in a completely different ways. It can be very creative. It doesn't have to be, just within that few hours. It can last for much longer time because it lives online. So these sort of things that we're currently helping the brands to be more innovative in a way to communicate their message and their contents.
Do you have a particular process that you go through just to help to coach some of your clients, just to have that mindset shift away from, okay, this is how we do things operationally for live brand storytelling, and this is now how we have to shift it accordingly to digital?
Yes, definitely. I think the mindset is very different because you have a captive audience. It's much easier to translate your message. But now if everyone goes online, the attention span is much shorter, right? And we don't have the budget and the resources to create a HBO Netflix series. and everyone wish they have the resource to do it, but in reality, we don't have that. So we just have to really precise in terms of the message, and be really practical, pragmatic about the approach that they can take to move things into an online platform. Yeah.
So short, sharp messages, and it's harnessing people's flexibility and agility to try new things that allow us within the budget constraints to do, really.
Exactly.
So in your opinion, Helen, what does the road to recovery look like for agencies and for brands? I mean, you're based in China, you've said that businesses are already starting to reopen, so perhaps you have some greater insight that you could share?
Yeah, this will really depends on how quickly we can recover from the pandemic. So each country situation and timeline are very different. For example, in China, as I mentioned before, we are back to work, and the government is actually putting a lot of measures and incentives to push consumer consumptions, basically, because they want the market to be covered, to be able to bounce back very quickly. So they're encouraging people to do that. And also, after months of lockdown, in particularly in Shanghai, we see people are out and about right now. They're just very keen to reconnect and have their normal life back. So, so that's where I see where the recovery can only happen when we can overcome the pandemic. I think in China we are very close in terms of solving that, hopefully. But with industry that has a much complicated supply chains system in place, we need to be more conservative. So for B2B events, I think we will have to wait for the bigger economy to come back to normal, because that requires people traveling from different places to a designated locations. That will take longer, I think. We are living through a historical moment. I mean, in life, basically. So these are definitely the one of the toughest times that we have experienced. But we have gone through that before. We have 911, we have financial crisis before, but the event industry did bounce back. So I'm pretty confident with that. Just everyone will need to play a key role on the road to recovery. And whether that is event suppliers, or whether it's the venue, or whether it's the clients and other brands, we just have to work much close together.